All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all is well. And I'm glad that you all have stopped by to hear me present this afternoon. Just a few housekeeping things. Feel free to keep your screen muted or to show yourself on the screen. But if you have questions, I will talk for maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. And then at the end, try to answer questions that you may have. So feel free to type your questions in the chat box if you don't want to talk aloud, or you can wait until the end of the presentation and then I'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you may have. All right, so we can go to the next slide. All right, so again, greetings everyone. My name is Justin Wilkes and I'm the director of the Student Transition Program. Just to give you a little background of who I am. I was a former high school teacher for a couple of years, as well as a guidance counselor, where I also served in that role for a couple of years. But I've been at the University of Mary Washington for the last 8 years. And I've been in higher ed altogether for 11. And I will say, I love what I do. And to give some context to that, I was a first generation underrepresented student, as well as I grew up in a very rural town. It didn't have a lot of access to a lot of things. And so going to college was a crazy experience for me because there were a lot of unknowns. And so my college experience started with a transition program. And that transition program was the most amazing thing that I've ever done in terms of getting me ready for not just college, but just life in general. Me walking into being my own adult, making some of the best friends that I've ever had, people that I'm still close with. But it also exposed me to the expectations and how to navigate that college experience. And I don't think I would have had the success that I did in college had I had the opportunity to be a part of that transition experience. And so having an opportunity to give back in a similar role and be here at the University of Mary Washington, I love what I do. I wouldn't change it for the world. And so with that said, why STP? We can go to the next slide. I am of the belief that college is one of the easiest, hardest things you ever do. And I say easy because college is all about knowing the right questions to ask, knowing who to ask, knowing how to self-manage and to, just practice good habits on a daily basis. But the hard part about that is a lot of that comes with us learning it on the fly. And that can come with a lot of challenges, a lot of bumps along the way, and sometimes some failures. And so with the STP program, our whole goal is to give students the opportunity to acclimate to and develop an understanding of college life in practice before they start that experience. And then we continue that support throughout your freshman year and making sure that you have a support system to help you answer those questions that you may not have clear answers for, and to help you feel comfortable as you go through that experience, knowing the what's and the hows, and being able to incorporate different practices into your everyday life that are going to help you be successful. And so our purpose and our mission is to help you be design life thinkers. In other words, thinking through problems and challenges that don't have clear answers. And the goal, as we help you navigate through that first year with support, to get you to the point of in your sophomore and junior year that you're starting to be able to take over that leadership and to self-author or self-navigate your own experience, still with help and support, but more so you being able to understand how to play that role and how to navigate, again, the college experience. And we do that through a series of different things. We can go to the next slide. We do that through a series of different things. The first, starting with the summer residential program. And I'm going to talk about each of these components with their own individual slides, but I'll just give you an overview right now. But we do, again, we do what we do with the summer residential program. Secondly, student success courses that students take from the summer throughout the entire first year experience. And lastly, through very individual supportive academic advising. That's one of the favorite parts of my role, having the opportunity to connect with students one-on-one, and again, to answer questions and provide that support. So I'll talk a little bit about the summer experience first. And we can go to the next slide. So the STP Summer Experience this year will run from Monday, July the 12th through Friday, July 23rd. And it is a bit a different format this year due to COVID and other, reasoning that we made that experience a little bit shorter to help better accommodate students. But the whole purpose of the summer residential experience is to give students the opportunity to come to campus and have a firsthand experience of college in the classroom, because you take a class during that time that's worth 2 credits that actually are applicable towards your degree. Secondly, you get the opportunity to live in a residence hall. And for some students who say, well, I'm not planning to live in the residence hall during my actual first year of college, that's fine, because you still get connected to other students and start to develop relationships and start to develop allies who are going to be your support system as you go throughout your first year. And the last component of that summer program is we start to help students to build a tool bag of things that they're going to need to help them be successful in terms of being able to navigate the first year experience. And that starts with how you study, and again, developing daily practices that are going to be advantageous for you. But most important, getting you connected to the resources on campus, learning about the Writing Center and the Speaking Center and student services, and how to talk to the financial aid office about questions or problems you may have, or student accounts, or even academic services. So learning, again, the players in those offices, how to have those conversations, what questions to ask, and how to getting you comfortable with being able to navigate that experience on your own when your fall semester starts at UMW. And so again, that's a 2-week experience. And we particularly have made that adjustment for a couple of different reasons. Obviously with COVID, we feel that the less time we have you on campus this summer, the safer we can keep you. But also for the purpose that we understand on your summer experience, this is your last hurrah before you go off to college. And so families are traveling and visiting, and we don't know what that will look like this summer, again, as we continue to navigate through the challenges of COVID. But we understand that students work and have responsibilities outside of the UMW experience, and so we're trying to accommodate that with a shorter summer. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the student success courses that you all will participate in. In the summer, you all would take Education 101, which is a 2-credit course, and I like to call it the mirror class, because a lot of the focus of that class is you reflecting on, what am I doing well as a student coming from high school into college? What are the things that I do well in terms of my goal setting, in terms of time management, in terms of how I read and study and prepare for exams, etc. And then we also want to look at, what are the challenges? What are the expectations of me in terms of expectations for myself, expectations from my college professors, and starting to look at different skills and different strategies that I can use to help me, again, best navigate the college experience. And then in the fall semester, we continue that support with Education 102, which is actually a 1-credit course. So the time commitment is a little less. But in that experience, we focus a lot more on the communication component of college. You'll find that writing and speaking is a requirement in every setting in college, particularly speaking. And some of us may not be comfortable with public speaking or asking questions in class, or just having that confidence to self-advocate when it's in terms of going to a professor's office to speak with them about a grade or the notes from class. And so we focus solely and heavily on communication skills in the fall course, and helping you get ready for what the expectations are in the writing process and the speaking process, as well as learning how to do research, in terms of what expectations there will be on campus. And the last components that we focus is getting students connected to the experience at UMW outside of the classroom. We feel like it's very important for students to have some understanding and some connection to clubs and a social experience that's going to give balance to and add to your time at UMW. So we focus on all those different aspects in the fall. And then lastly, in the spring, we can move to the next slide. This is actually my favorite course to teach, and it actually serves as a general education requirement. So in other words, it's a requirement for degree completion, but the course is called IDIS 191. And what we focus on in that class is you. First, in terms of, what does my liberal arts education mean to me? And what does that mean to me when I graduate and transition into the real world whether it be graduate school, whether it be seeking employment, or whatever opportunities I'm aiming for. What does my liberal arts education mean? And how does it prepare me to get to that place? And then we start to look at that from a standpoint of what are my values and my skill sets and my strengths, and where do they fit in majors? Where do they fit in careers? And starting to connect the dots to where I see myself and working back to where I am now to plan that process moving forward. So again, that's one of my favorite classes to teach because it's very self-reflective in terms of you starting to look at who I am, where I see myself, and what are the things that I need to get me there. We can move to the next slide. And the last component of the STP program is academic advising. So I have the distinct pleasure of serving as all program participants' primary advisor throughout their first year experience, and sometimes into the second year until students declare their major. So with that, my goal is to have as many intentional touch points throughout both the fall and the spring semester with you to make sure that things are going well. And if they aren't going well, let's troubleshoot and let's figure out how to get you back on track, or to, again, figure out what are the right questions to ask, who do we need to talk to, how do we make sure that we're doing everything accordingly to stay, progressing in our time at UMW. And so there are at least 3 intentional times that we will meet, particularly at the beginning of the semester, to look over your schedule and to make sure that you're taking the right classes. And if not, let's make adjustments to get you in a more suitable schedule. And secondly, we'll meet for a pre-registration advisement to help you each semester to plan the next step in your degree progress, looking at the courses, looking at declaring your major, and getting you ready for, again, the next steps that you'll take. And lastly, at the end of the semester, I'm following up with students to make sure that if there are any last minute adjustments we need to make, any last minute conversations we need to have regarding courses, etc. But I'm going to be regularly reaching out to you, whether it be via email or text or being able to see you in person, to make sure that as you progress through your first year, that you're having the best experience possible. And so that in a nutshell is the STP program from the summer throughout your entire first year. And so to kind of wrap this up and go into the next slide, 3 things that I would say we do. The first is we're about adaptation, getting you familiar with campus life, and that getting you familiar through a direct experience inside and outside of the classroom. Because again, in that summer experience, you're going to be taking classes, and that will continue throughout the fall and spring semester, but also on a social basis. We do a lot of activities and just hanging out, whether it be in our office space, creating the space for students to have just people to be around that they can talk to and ask questions or just hang out with, or even do homework. We try to create that space of belonging for students in our program. The second, and moving to the next slide, is again, communication. We want to make sure that you understand what the expectations are for you in terms of the writing and the speaking process, but again, also helping you to develop supportive relationships throughout your experience and learning how to self-advocate and ask the right questions. And lastly, and we can move to the final slide, just overall transition, helping you again get connected to people, the places and the things on campus that are going to make you and help you enjoy your experience while you're here, and make it a positive experience as you come into your own self and start to grow as an individual. So that in a nutshell is STP. And at this time, I'm going to stop for questions, but I do want to answer some questions that you probably will have. So we can move to the next slide. I'm sorry, I forgot one slide. So I often get the question, what are we doing in response to COVID? And there's a few things that we've done as a program. The first, extending access to program staff. So myself, and there are 2 other individuals that work in my office, but we made ourselves available to students more frequently via text, and email, and meetings beyond the normal 8 to 5 hours. And so I have no issue if a student, the best time for them to meet is 8 p.m. at night, then I'm going to make myself available to that student, to answer questions and to address concerns, because I understand very well, with COVID and just navigating a remote experience, the remote experience that we had so far, there are challenges that we aren't used to. And so we've done the best we can do to make ourselves more available to our students. And we're looking forward to the possibility right now, the actual goal that we will be back on campus in the fall semester in the 90% in-person experience. And so, but we will continue to make ourselves available. Secondly, as I've already explained, we've amended the summer experience to try to make it more accommodable for students, whether it be students who need to work or students who have other things going on during that time. And secondly, for your safety, we want to make sure that we do our best to keep you all safe during the 2 weeks that you'll be on campus. And so there will be more information to come about testing and what we will be doing for dining and any type of personal contact that you'll have with other individuals. We'll make sure that we give you a clear understanding of what that will look like this summer in terms of safety, because I understand that's a big issue, and that's a fair question and concern. Lastly, something that we implemented this year that I'm looking forward to doing again next year, our summer counselors, who are actual students at UMW, typically junior, senior level students, are actually staying on board and staying employed through the fall semester. And so those summer counselors who serve as mentors during the summer will continue to be available and have access to program participants during the fall semester. And each summer counselor has a small group of students that they're assigned, that they're checking in with regularly to make sure from a student to student perspective, if you have questions or concerns, that they're there to help and to be another support. But also to make sure that in the fall semester that you are able to stay on task. And if you have challenges, whether it be with a club, a professor, sometimes you all may not feel comfortable talking to us adults. And so having access to a student, we found, has been beneficial. And so we're continuing that program this year, where our summer counselors will continue in a mentorship role throughout the fall semester. And so now I'll move to the next slide and answer some of the questions you may have before I take the questions that you all have typed in the chat box or want to ask. So how are students considered for selection to the program? There are a couple of different ways. The first, our primary target are students who are designated as first generation or first in family, students who are underrepresented by race and or geographic location, and or a student who has indicated something on the application that says, I may want additional support coming into my first year experience. And so the Office of Admissions, as they're reviewing applications, looking for those indicators, when they see those things, either they will reach out to you, the student, to say, hey, would you like to consider the STP experience? Or they will encourage you to do the second thing, which many of you, I think, have done, is raise your own hand. And so on the application, there's a prompt that asks if you're interested in participating in STP program. And so you can check that prompt if you haven't already applied, or you can check that message, and the prompt just asks you, why do you feel you'd benefit from participating in the program? And so you can raise your own hand to say that you'd be interested in participating in the program. If you've already submitted your application but are still interested in participating in STP, that's okay. At this point, all you would need to do is email your admissions counselor to say, I've submitted my application, but I did not select that I'm interested in STP, but I would like to be considered now. And your counselor will work with you to complete the prompt and get you into the portal to be considered. Secondly, how much does the summer program cost? The answer to that is free 99. So the entire summer experience is covered by the program, that being the course itself, your textbooks, any textbooks that you need, your meals and your housing. We cover that entire cost as a program. So the only thing that you need to pay for is your transportation to and from campus and any additional amenities that you would need throughout the 2 weeks outside of, the food and your bedding. So we provide, we don't provide you with linen, but we provide you with the room and board. So the only thing that you have to provide for yourself are your extra amenities. And lastly, is there a limited amount of spots available for participants in this program? So our target, our cap is between 40 to 50 participants this year. And so And typically, we do come close to or reach our goal. However, if it becomes a case that I feel like there are students who would benefit from the program, I'm always willing and looking for ways to make space available. And so again, our target is 40 to 50 students this year. But we could start the summer with 55 students. But typically, space is limited. So if you are interested, please make sure that you pay attention to deadlines in terms of your priority deadline for your deposit and completing the right documentation for next steps. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking now and take some questions from you all if you have any. And I'll look in the chat. Mr. Wells, I think I've answered your question in regards to the cost to participate. So again, that summer experience is entirely free to you all. We cover the expenses of the room, the meals, the classes, and any textbooks that you need. So second question I see is, does the tuition deposit have to be paid before applying? So the answer to that is no. So you can apply to or request to be a part of the STP program at any point in time in the application process. You do not have to be a student who has accepted your admission to UMW and deposited. However, again, going back to the point of, our target is 40 to 50 program participants this summer. So we do encourage you, if you are strongly considering UMW, which we really, really hope you are, and would like to be a part of the program. Even if you haven't paid the deposit, you can reach out to either myself or someone in the Office of Admissions and let us know. And we'll make sure that we try to do our best to accommodate you in the time being. I see another question. This is, when do you let participants or applicants know that they are accepted as participants? And so I do believe that acceptance letters for the program are being sent out weekly. And so you are admitted to UMW first, and then you are considered for the STP program. And so if you raise your hand and ask to be a part of the program, I typically get those applications every Friday, and I try to review and send those responses back to the Office of Admissions within a couple of days. And so I believe that admissions is sending out those responses every week. And so if you've applied for the program and haven't heard back yet, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email address in the chat box, and I can check on the status where you are in that process. But my email is jwilks@umw.edu. Any other questions? And you can feel free to unmute. You don't have to type it in the chat if you feel comfortable. You're more than welcome to unmute and ask your question.
Sir, just a quick question. Was the first picture, a little bit unrelated, but was the first picture in the slide, was that your daughter?
It was, yes.
That was the cutest thing. I'm sorry, I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt.
No problem, thank you. And I show her because she's sometimes with me on campus, particularly in the summer. So she makes herself at home everywhere she goes. So, if you are participating in the program, you'll definitely get to meet and spend time with her. She's more fun than me.
I wouldn't say that.
Other questions? All right, so I will say this. If you ever do have any questions that you think of, after today, feel free to email me, or you can call me, which I'll actually type my phone number in the box as well. Feel free to email or call me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, to talk to you more about the program, to answer any questions that you may have. And just to give you a heads up, you may receive, if you've already applied for STP or been offered STP, you may receive a call within the next week or two anyway, because I have two senior staff members, two students who are seniors that are staff members in my office, and they're calling accepted students just to welcome you to UMW and to tell you about their experience in general in the STP program, and to answer any questions you may have as well. And so again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, or you may hear from one of my student staff members in the coming weeks. All right. Thank you all for your time. You all have a wonderful day. Amanda, I don't know if you have anything else that we need to cover.
No, we are all set. Thank you all for joining us. And kind of as Justin said, if you have any questions or concerns or anything, we are always here to help. Your admissions counselor, you know, that's our job, is here to help you through this whole process. So don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. You all have a good day.